Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Networking and Marketing Made Simple. I know you're going to love this amazing interview with my buddy Mark. He is considered Mr. Productivity. So, you know, I'm all about being productive and working smarter, not harder. And that's what we dive into this episode. And also, we are officially 4 days away from the start of our 5-day amateur to expert LinkedIn intensive. So it's still not too late to register. You can find the link in the description of this episode to do so. It is Monday, April 25th through Friday, April 29th, live and recorded, and the replays will be available until May 11th. So if you can't make it live, you can binge and watch all the replays as many times as you want up until May 11th. We go over the pure optimization of your LinkedIn profile and the new ways to do so, connecting, building your network, messaging, closing sales, your sales calls, content creation, and our 20-minute-a-day routine to create success in your business. So we would love to see you part of the intensive and also enjoy this amazing interview with Mr. Productivity. Networking and Marketing Made Simple is for you, the business owner who has a product, a service, or a message that you believe in. My name is Scott Aaron, and each week we'll take a behind-the-scenes look into the real-world marketing and networking tactics and strategies for getting what you have in front of you to a lot more people. Thanks for spending time with me, and now let's get started. Hey, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of Networking and Marketing Made Simple. Super excited for today's episode for a number of reasons. Number one, it's another interview episode, and I know everyone loves these interviews because, again, I love taking the spotlight off of myself and shining it on those that I connect with. And Mark Struczewski, who I have with me today, is a friend of mine and a connection on LinkedIn. He gave me the incredible honor of being on his podcast. And I said, you know, we vibed so well that I would love to have you on mine. And he helps solopreneurs overcome overwhelm by teaching very simple strategies and tactics delivered through specific online programs and also live events when available. And there's going to be a link in the description of this episode where he does offer 5 productivity tips for free. It's top5productivitytips.com if anybody wants to go there, but that will also be in the description of this episode. So that's an early plug because I love productivity and I love when people have that heart of service, which Mark does. So with that behind us and that being said, Mark, welcome to today's episode.
Scott, it's always a pleasure to be on another show that is hosted by a proud member of the Chrome Dome Club. So I'm glad to be here.
Listen, the Chrome brothers have to stay together. It's a very simplistic way to live, and I'm grateful for it. And it definitely, no pun intended, shaves some time off of our morning routine. So I appreciate that. So, you know, Mark, we talked a lot about LinkedIn and everything about me on your podcast, and obviously your superpower is productivity and keeping things very simple and streamlined. Before we get into that, for the audience that is not familiar with you and what you do, tell everyone a little bit about what it is that you do, but most importantly, throughout your entrepreneurial journey, what do you feel was that catalytic moment that kind of propelled you in the direction that you're still currently on?
Well, it all started back in July of 1997. I'm sorry, July 2005, when I was fired from my job. I cringed to think, had I not been fired at that job, would I still be there? Would I have a podcast? Would we even be having this conversation right now? So Mama Bird kicked me out of the nest, says you need to go on your own. And I was angry for a while, but it took me several years to find my footing because I didn't know what I wanted to do. I tried a bunch of things and I started falling in love with live speaking, live training. And I said, man, I want to teach people something, but I don't know what. And, you know, as happens in life, I had a coach at the time and they said, well, why don't you teach people productivity? And I'm like, I don't know where that came from, but why would you say that? And he goes, I know a lot of people. I'm a coach. I'm a high-end coach. And I don't know too many people are as productive as you. You need to share that gift with the world. And the rest, as they say, is history.
So, the theory and the thought of, I love the whole mama bird kicking you out of the nest. And I remember seeing a quote and hearing something by Steve Harvey, who, when you take that leap, sometimes people are, slowly inching out to the edge of that cliff and, they're not, I'm not jumping, but sometimes you need that little kick in the rear end to kind of push you off that edge. And he says, the interesting thing is every entrepreneur will tell you there's no parachute in tow. You're not jumping off that cliff with a parachute as a safety net. You're taking those bumps and those bruises and the cuts and the scrapes along the way down. So let me ask you this: from all the things that you did in corporate to what you're doing now, focused around productivity, what do you think most impacted you as an employee working for someone else that gave you those necessary skills to apply what you're doing today as your own business owner?
My answer is going to shock you. It wasn't a job I had. It was the way I was raised. I was raised by not strict parents so much, but more structured. So when I came home from school, for example, my mom was still at work. My dad was still at work. I was expected. I had to do homework. I had to do my chores. I had to have the table set for dinner. And so I thank my parents for giving me a structure. Because when I want to do a job, my parents told me, you set yourself up a structure, you give your all at the job. So I really give full credit to my parents to why I'm as productive as I am now. By the way, one of my favorite quotes comes from Steve Harvey. I love when he said, if you want to be successful in this life, you have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable. And the reason why I thought about that is a lot of people don't want to be uncomfortable. They want to sit in their comfortable chair that's broken in for their behind and the same temperature. It could be stinky temperature, stinky air, but people are comfortable. You will not grow unless you get out of your comfort zone.
Yeah, nothing happens when you play it safe. And, Les Brown says it. He says, no one really wants to tiptoe through life and then arrive at your grave safely. That's not what life is. No one wants to live a mediocre life. Everybody wants to be great at everything that they do, or that specific zone of genius, or that focus of one. Now, productivity is a very interesting topic because I feel so much has happened, and I think you can agree, we were both in the online space prior to the Great Resignation. So we're used to this kind of temperature and environment. Again, live events are two things that you and I both love. I had the fortunate ability to do 2 live trainings this past weekend, which felt great to be back in front of people again. But as far as being productive, this is something that people really struggle with, especially entrepreneurs, especially solopreneurs that are new to the space. Why do you feel productivity is such a difficult thing for people to fully grasp, but also then implement into their business?
We have these devices with us all the time. And it's no longer, well, maybe I'll go check my phone. If we don't see our phone within eyesight, we start getting heart palpitations. And those phones, I believe, are a blessing and a curse. I mean, I can run my business off my iPhone, but I can also endlessly and mindlessly scroll on TikTok or Snapchat or Twitter or Facebook over and over and over again. So I think that we have to understand we are the human beings. We are the human beings. I could turn this device off. I'm in control. And I think the number one reason why people are not being productive as much as they really, I believe they want to be productive, is they are allowing the technology to be the boss instead of the other way around.
Do you see and do you feel that, because I'm with you, I feel that there is a huge responsibility that needs to be taken on by the social media platforms for some of the addiction that has been created by social media, the comparison addiction, the notification addiction, like, oh, the dings and the buzzes and the beeps, as Simon Sinek always says. Mm-hmm. So do you feel that there's going to be a tipping point, so to speak, where, and I said this to my wife, I said, Apple and Android should come out with some sort of application attached to our phones where there's a time limit per day that you can spend on a specific social media platform or on your phone at all, and then it doesn't work anymore. You can still call, you can still text, but as far as being online, it limits you to a certain amount of time. So it was just an idea I was spitballing out with her. But do you feel there's going to be a tipping point and something will change to help people become more productive as we once were before all of this stuff?
I don't. And I'm going to say something a lot of people will think is controversial. I think if you're old enough to use a social media platform or a device, you need to grow up and be in control. It's about discipline. So you and I are really big on social media, but I don't consume a lot. I push content out, but I don't sit there and endlessly scroll. I'd rather go grab a book and read a book. So I think if you're an adult and you have some education, if you found this podcast, you probably have some degree of education. You got to say, look, I'm not going to allow Instagram or LinkedIn or Facebook control me. I'm going to set my timer. That's one of my forgotten productivity tools. Set the timer on your phone for 30 minutes and go have a ball on whatever platform you want to be on. But when the timer goes off, stop. Now, I am not addicted to social media. My wife, to a certain extent, is. She this. Don't send me stuff, because if it's not going to move the needle toward my goals, I don't want to participate in that. I follow a few people like Grant Cardone, Gary Vaynerchuk on LinkedIn and Instagram because they help me. I don't want to waste my time looking at cute dog pictures and cute baby pictures and memes and stuff. I don't have time for that. My goal in life is to be, well, it used to be to want to be 100 millionaire. Now I want to be a billionaire. I want to aim really high. And Grant Cardone didn't get to be a billionaire by scrolling through TikTok and Instagram 8 hours a day. He's working. And so I think if you are a human being, I don't think bots listen to podcasts. We need to say, look, what do I want out of life? Is what I'm doing on TikTok or any social media platform, is that going to get me to where I want to go? The answer is no. Say, okay, I'll still spend time on that platform, but I'm going to go figure out what I need to do to move the needle.
I could not agree more. And something that I talk about often is, what is the ROI on the time being spent on that platform? Because again, if you're just scrolling and trolling, if you're just looking at certain things, if it's not amounting to any business visibility, business growth, collaboration, connection, opportunity, then you're literally just filling your time with just doing nothing. And then people wonder, it's so funny, Mark, people then wonder, well, why is my business not where I want it to be? Why hasn't my income grown? Something that Nancy and I, my wife, we talk about all the time. We're like, what do these people do all day long? Because, Nancy and I are very scheduled. We time block everything. We have a time that we start work. We have a time that we finish. We have a time that we wake up in the morning. We have a morning routine. We have an evening routine. And we're structured and we are productive in the time that we're doing what we need to do, because there's so many people that are just throwing spaghetti at the wall. Now, let me ask you this. This is an honest question. If someone was to turn the mirror around on themselves and realize that they are the root cause and the root issue of where they aren't in where they want to be in their life and business, and they get structured, they get productive, they put up boundaries around their time, do you feel that that person would completely change the direction of where they want to go in their business?
100%. Not even, I can't even add anything to what you just said, because you control where the train is going. And I promise you, scrolling endlessly on any platform, even LinkedIn. Oh, I'm just scrolling on LinkedIn because it's business. Okay. Is it helping you? Okay. You get on the train. Which way is the train going? Is it going towards your goals or away from your goals? You get to choose. And I don't like people blaming, oh, it's social media's fault. Oh, it's Apple's fault, Android's fault. I'm like, you're the boss of the technology. You don't have to be on any social media platform. I don't know of a single person, Elon Musk, Grant Cardone, Gary Vaynerchuk, Oprah Winfrey, that blame things. And that's where they got to where they are. They worked a lot.
So my follow-up question is this. Why are people so resistant to getting productive and structured in their business?
You want me to be brutally honest with you?
That's what we're here for.
They're lazy. It's so much easier. And there's no difference between endlessly scrolling on TikTok or binge watching Netflix. It's the same thing. It's a waste of time. They're lazy. What they do is they look at like a Grant or a Gary and like, oh, I would love to have my own private jet. I would love to have my own, mansion or whatever. Yeah, but what you don't see is all the work they put in. You see the product. You don't see the work they put in. And I think people are lazy. I really think it's not because they're stupid. It's they're lazy and they don't want to put in the work. They want the results, but they don't want to put in the work. And as you know, that doesn't happen in life.
So you talk about, simple productivity tips, and obviously people are going to get the download of how they can learn these 5 simple productivity tips. Of the 5 that you speak about in your free download and your free offer, if someone was to say, Mark, what is the most important and the most imperative skill, tactic, or tip that relates to productivity, which one would you say is most important?
Without a doubt, tell your time where to go instead of wondering where it went. Plan. I don't care if your plan is to binge watch a show on Netflix. Intentionally say, I'm going to waste 5 hours watching the show. What happens is so many people are reactive. They're in reactive mode. They're like, well, I'm just going to watch one show and it turns out to be 5. I don't care if it's during football season and you want to watch 3 full games of football. Intentionally say, I'm going to watch football for 9 hours. Nobody, I won't say nobody, the vast majority of people are living reactively. Whatever happens, that's where their attention goes. I think people need to be intentional. I don't have a problem with you watching TV. Don't watch it for 15 hours a day. But if you want to work hard during the day and you want to watch 2-3 hours of TV a night, that's fine. But I think the thing is people are living reactively. They're not living intentionally.
So my wife and I have a rule in our house. We're usually in bed by, 8:30, sometimes 9:00. And we have a rule before the TV goes on. We have to read for 15 minutes. So we lay in bed and it's helped because I've read like 6 books this year already, which just feels so good for my brain. Like it just feels so good. And then we kind of share what we read about in those 15 minutes and what our takeaways were. And then we turn on the TV and whatever time is left, we'll go to bed 10:30. If we watch TV for an hour and 15 minutes, we're fine. Sometimes we just watch an episode of a show and then we go to sleep, but we earn that, just like you said, we set the intention that we are going to allow ourselves to watch TV after we read our books for 15 minutes. So we always give ourselves rewards for certain things. So
now let me ask you a question. Am I hearing you right? You watch TV in bed?
I do.
You're giving me heart palpitations because as a productivity guy, I think there's 2 things you do in bed: have sex and sleep. Okay.
Well, we do those too. We do those too.
Well,
Trust me.
I
that comes before TV as well.
Okay. Okay. I think that you should no one should have TVs in the room. What I do is we have one TV in our house. We have a 55-inch 4K TV with a massive sound bar, but around 8:15-ish, I get away from my devices and I go in my bedroom and I do read a print book, not on an iPad or something like that, a print book. And that's my body's signal. Okay, it's time to go to bed. I would like to read for an hour, but I make it to about maybe 25, 30 minutes. My brain understands that is time to go to bed. So I don't read and then watch more electronics. I read and then go into the covers and go to sleep. So whenever someone says they have a TV in their bedroom and they watch TV, I mean, you're doing the right things. You're reading the print book, but I want to challenge you on your own podcast. I want to challenge you to reverse it. Watch TV, preferably not your bedroom, but It is what it is. Watch TV, and then you and your wife read, and then you discuss, then you go to bed. So put the TV before the reading and see what happens, how you feel the next day.
I'll try that, and I'll make that recommendation to her. And the reason why, and here's the reason why, that I reward myself with TV. For me, I'm such an outside the box thinker. I need something mindless that I can emotionally detach from, where I'm not doing any thinking. If I am left to my own devices, my brain goes and goes and goes, because I have that entrepreneurial brain. It just goes and it interrupts my sleep. So I've done different tests of what has helped me really get that deep REM sleep. And for me, after reading a book and then putting on some nonsense show that's completely non-related to the real world, where I can emotionally detach from it, where my brain kind of like goes into shut off mode, I am like out like a light after like one episode. But not to say I'm coachable and I'm open and I'm willing to try the methodology of reversing that. Watch first, book second, sleep third, and then see what happens.
That's very interesting, because I too have an entrepreneurial brain. And sometimes I track my sleep. I wear an Apple Watch. I track my sleep. And I've been struggling with deep sleep lately, because I wake up and I'm like, oh man, this would be a great idea for a blog post. And it's like, my brain keeps going nonstop. And I didn't know, what I could do about that. So about a week ago, I went to Grant Cardone's 10X Growth Con. And there's a guy named Gary Brecka, Brecka. And he talks about this gene test he does. So my wife and I paid $600 per test to get it done. And he says that you only take this test one time, because it's your genes, right? You can't change your genes. And what they do is that they find out where you're weak in, and they actually make a compound specifically for you. A lot of people go take all these multivitamins, but you may only need one or two of them. So they actually figure out where the missing raw materials are. And they said, by figuring this out, you can actually have your brain close down at night. And I'm like, man, I want that. I want to, like, okay, when I turn the lights off, put the book down, my head in the pillow, my brain goes, okay, turn the switch off. And there's a way that they can do that. I'm missing what he says is raw materials that my brain knows, okay, we're sleeping, but man, we got a lot of ideas to go through. And there's a way to turn that off, but I don't want to use pills. I want to use like supplements, but the right supplements that are all natural. So this is a journey I'm on right now. I don't know how it's going to feel. So I'll definitely keep you informed, unfortunately through text messages, but I'll let you know how it works out. I'm really excited because I've never taken a test like this before.
No, please do. Because again, I think you made a good point that everyone's trying to figure it out and navigate through this journey of life that has helped them the most. And I think, for us, setting those boundaries and setting those routines and being consistent with those routines. And I can, channel that back to when I was a personal trainer and nutritionist, living by that structure for 18 years, working out every single day, planning out my meals, timing everything out, creating routines for other people, not another pun, but you build up those muscles. And that's the thing. You need that repetition. You need the consistency, just like with being productive and efficient. You need to, really, really work at it every single day in order to have that compounded effect take place. So before we wind down, what would you say is the biggest takeaway for you personally in life and in business from a personal and professional standpoint? How is that in being productive? How has it helped your personal side of your life and your business side of your life? And what would be your big suggestion for someone that's listening to this that is really struggling with being productive each day?
For me, it's all about focus. For the longest time, I wasn't focused on the right things. I was focused on, oh, there's a squirrel there. There's a squirrel there. Once I really amplified my structure that when I was raised, I found out I was able to know what I should be working on and focus on that. Now I still watch TV and I still do stuff that is not needle moving, but I know what I'm doing now. And I think a lot of people are, like I said earlier, are living reactively. And so if you are listening to this conversation and you feel overwhelmed, like, oh my gosh, what do I do? You know, should I go to Mark's website? You should. Listen to his podcast? You should. But here's the first thing I think you should do. I think you should put your technology aside and go for a walk, maybe a 20 or 30-minute walk, and just go for a walk. And don't think about anything. Just let your brain churn through things. So a lot of people, they're go, or scroll, and their brain doesn't have a chance to process. So I would encourage everyone listening to gift yourself a tech-free walk. Now, if you wear an Apple Watch or a Garmin, you want to track your walk, that's fine. But even if you go with somebody, don't talk to them. Just let your brain decompress. I can tell you, when I take walks, I take my dog for a walk, I get some great ideas because I'm not in technology. I'm just like out there with her, walking her, and I'm like, wow, that's a great idea. And that's a great idea because now my brain is not focused on all the simulation from the technology. Now it can go, hey, by the way, had this idea this morning. You're quiet now. Here's an idea for you. It's amazing. So just go for a walk and just be quiet, and you'll be amazed at what the answers that you're looking for are already in your brain.
Yeah, my wife and I, after the end of our day, we go for a 30 to 45-minute technology-free walk to just connect, you know, and I date my spouse. I mean, that's part of like going on a date. We just walk around our cul-de-sac for 30, 45 minutes, talk about our day, you know, what victories and things that we worked through. And it's just a really nice time for us to connect. Now, Mark, before I get to my last and final question, obviously we mentioned the free gift, the productivity hacks, where people can go to the number 5 productivitytips.com to get that. If people are looking to connect with you outside of that, the free download at that website, how else can people get in touch with you to find out more?
Well, my 3 biggest platforms I'm on: LinkedIn, Instagram, and yes, Snapchat. I'm 56 years old. I love Snapchat. You can find me there. I'm Mr. Productivity on Instagram, and I'm Mark Struczewski on LinkedIn and Snapchat. You can also go to mrproductivity.com, which takes you to markstruczewski.com. You're welcome. Find out about my podcast. Your podcast was out recently that you spit a lot of fire on LinkedIn. It was an incredible episode. Everything you want to find out about me is there.
Awesome. And for all the listeners, all that information will be in the description of this episode. So, and I do recommend get the 5 free tips. Follow Mark. He's a wealth of knowledge, really puts the stuff out there that people really need to hear and see as far as being productive, because I promise you, the more productive you are in your life and your business, the more productive you will be in every aspect of your life, because the way that we do one thing is the way that we do everything. So, Mark, final question before we sign off. What does success truly mean to you?
Freedom. When you are successful, it's not just freedom because you have a lot of money. It's freedom to say yes to what you want to say yes to, no to what you want to say no to, freedom to sit down and watch 3-4 shows on Netflix if you want. Success for me means freedom physically, emotionally, spiritually, everything that ends in Lee. That's what success means to me.
Love that. And again, success means something different for each person, and freedom in some way, shape, or form, whether that's financially free, whether it's time freedom, you bring the meaning to success. And I love everything that you said. And more importantly, loved this episode so much because I'm going to actually take your advice and be coachable and try the reverse, doing TV first and then finishing with our book and then going to sleep and see how that works. And just appreciate your rawness, your realness, your truth, but also all the just wonderful nuggets that you brought to today's episode. So Mark, thank you again so much for being here today.
Thank you, sir.
So everyone, as always, please do give a rating and review on iTunes, Spotify, wherever you are listening. And in the description of this episode, you'll find all the ways of how you can connect with Mark. So everyone, please enjoy the rest of your days, and I'll talk to you next time. Bye, everyone. Thank you so much again for checking out today's episode. And if you are listening through iTunes, Spotify, wherever you are, Please leave me a rating and review. Let me know what you loved, what you would like to see improved, or ideas you have for future episodes. And if you are interested in taking your business to the next level, don't hesitate to go to my website, www.scottaaron.net, where you can schedule a free discovery call with me, where I can learn more about you, your business, what you're struggling with, and how we can work together. And don't forget to check out my wife, Nancy, and mine, our free community on Facebook called LinkedIn Leads for Life. We would love to see you in there. Have a great rest of your day. And thank you everyone for your support. Grateful for each and every one of you.